Well, hello everybody. This is Mike from Reebs Lures, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about my baits and where they've come from and how far we've gotten and how we make them and pretty much everything in between from start to finish. So first of all, I'd like to thank the Float Tube Fishing Forum for having me. This is the first time I've done anything like this, so bear with me if it's kind of comedy, because I'm not really good at this kind of stuff. But anyhow, I started making fishing lures when I was about 18 years old, and my parents would drop me off at Lake Hodges and split for work for the day, and I basically shore pound for green bass. Then I invested in a float tube, and that's all I did is float tube for bass for years and years. I started not to be able to afford fishing lures, so I started picking them up off the shore and bringing them home, and they were all bit up and tore up. So I'd get a heat gun and kind of weld them back together, and started learning how to make molds. And I made a first mold. It came out horrible, but it was a learning process for me, and I ended up making fishing lures out of that for a while and started getting bit on them. And then eventually I started kind of becoming better at making molds and fishing lures, and started doing drop shot lures and making longer worms and crawdads and fishing my own stuff. And then I started getting the friends who would then fish them in tournaments, and they started winning tournaments or placing top 5 or top 4 or in the money, and kind of decided that maybe it was in my best interest to start making fishing lures. So that was about 8 years in the making right there. And then then I kind of perfected the art and started doing multicolors and plastics, and started, you know, looking into making harder baits. Jigs were pretty much my favorite thing to fish in the wintertime months, flipping toolies and that type of thing. And then when I was 21 or 23 or something like that, I got my first aluminum boat and discovered Oceanside Harbor. I've been surfing my whole life, so I kind of knew the coastline pretty well, and a boat was kind of allowed me to get to the places that I couldn't really get on my longboard when I would fish off my longboard. So I got a boat, and that was pretty much it for freshwater for me. I just got so addicted to the saltwater thing that I started exploring the coast and making lures that were getting bit coastal and in the bays. I do a lot of bay fishing. I mean, when I say a lot, I would fish it like 3 or 4 times a week, probably for 7-10 years straight. Just got addicted. I think a lot of you know the feeling. Anyhow, so that's pretty much how my kelp assassin came about. It's my most popular lure by far. Then I started fishing tournaments pretty heavily for about 5 years straight. Did really well. Then the lure company got busy, and I stopped doing fishing tournaments because I needed to fill orders instead of pre-fish. Unfortunately, that's how it goes, but I asked for it, so I enjoy doing it. It's not something I have to do. It's something I enjoy doing. So that's that. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and just blast through some of the stuff that I've been working on and that we do. And maybe it'll get some of you more informed on Reebs Lures, or maybe it'll just give some of you insight on how they're made, or the different varieties and endless varieties of plastics and jigs that we do here. Right now I'm in my hobby shop. This is where I do all my R&D work. I have another shop in Valley Center that we do our main production work, which is our long runs of stuff. But this is kind of where I do all my custom work, and when people order custom things, this is where I do it, so I don't have to drive all the way to Valley Center to do that. So first of all, the birth of the kelp assassin. I have a mold here that I brought back from Valley Center, and this is basically how it starts. It's a 2-piece silicone RTV mold, and basically what it is, it's the imprint of the kelp assassin. I don't know if you can see that or not. But basically what I do is I get my mustad hooks, lay them in the mold, close the mold. Got to put it on right. And what I do is I put the hook in there, and then I pour the lead through that little hole right there. Oh, not right there, right there. And when it's done, it goes off instantly, pretty much. I just pull it off, and bam, I got a kelp assassin. It's all in there. And basically, this is what it looks like when it comes out of the mold. Lead with a hook on it. After that, I'll do a big run of those. We have a spin cast machine that does 75 at a time, so I'll lay 75 hooks in my mold and spin cast them. Then I'll brownish them, which means kind of like polish them. There's a slight amount of trimming on the lead to do, but it's minor. After that, it's time to powder coat. And when I powder coat them, I basically heat them up and dip them in a fluid bed. And it's like it's a cup with basically with air blowing through the bottom of the balsa wood, and it floats your powder coat into like a fluid basically. So you heat the jigs up, you dip it in there, and then you add your seconds and thirds and fourths colors. I've even done 5 colors on jigs before. I think it's overkill, but if that's what people want, I make it. So basically, after it's powder coated, it comes out something like this. I can do base colors of anything imaginable. Then I put the eyeballs on, and then I'll put the weed guard on. And then if that's just for swim baits, then this is how it comes out. I skirt them as well. It comes out something like this. This is my Shuheido version of the jig. This is one of my most popular and favorite colors. Yellow head with like a fire tiger and green pumpkin skirt inlay. Pretty deadly, good for flipping docks. This is a 3/4 ounce model. I also do the 1.5 ounce, which is a little bit bigger. This is my favorite kelp size. It drops faster in the kelp columns, which gives it more of a reaction strike instead of they don't have time to look at it. Basically, they strike it because it's moving fast, and that's what they do. Calicos, love them. I also do. You saw the 3/4 ounce. I also do a little 3/8 ounce. Which is another really good dock flipping size. We can do any color combination imaginable in this. I love flipping docks with this. You put a creature bait on the end of it, or a razorback or Reebs razorback, and it has a real slow fall and a real good flutter. Real good for flipping docks. I love this little 3/8 ounce. So after we came out with the jigs, we decided that we want to do a spinnerbait, but we didn't want to get those cheap ones you buy at Walmart or whatever. They would just last one day, then you open them up the next day, they're just corroded, the swivels are all just destroyed. One fish, the wire's bent. We started buying high-end spinnerbaits, even the more expensive ones. The wire was too thin, they would just bend out and they wouldn't run true. So it was in my best interest to make a spinnerbait, and that's what I did. We used the Kelp Assassin head, which is just a phenomenal head for swimming. It doesn't turn one way or turn the other way when you pull it. So we decided that it'd make a really good spinnerbait. So what we did is we came out with a 1 ounce bolt thrower, and this is the bolt thrower. This is the blank. It's got the wire and the Kelp Assassin head with basically a really long shank spinnerbait hook. The wire is 0.44. It's huge. It's made for saltwater. It's not going to bend. We've caught 40-pound halibut on this bait, and which was my personal best, and the hook didn't bend out. As a matter of fact, 3 weeks ago I was fishing the 2.5 ounce bolt thrower, and I landed a 22-pound yellowtail and a white sea bass on it, which is phenomenal to me because I've never heard of anybody doing that. So that was cool. Anyhow, so we went with the spinner baits. We put all really tough components on them, and basically it's a jig head with the skirt, with the blade set up. Usually it's gold and silver on the willow, and everything is super strong on this spinnerbait. What we do, which is unique to anybody else, is for saltwater, the rubber band that holds the skirt onto the jig is the first thing to go. the saltwater just eats it apart. So what we do is I twist tie every single one of my lures. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a twist tie on there. And that zip tie actually holds the skirt into place, so when the rubber band dissipates, you still have a spinnerbait to fish. I've fished the same spinnerbait for months and not have any problem. It has slight corrosion on certain parts, but it doesn't affect the way the bait runs and moves. So I'm really happy with the way this spinnerbait came out. It's not made by somebody who doesn't fish. It's made by someone who wants their lures to last. I have to pay for them just like everybody else with the materials. So I want a spinnerbait that's going to last, not last one fish or two fish and then it's done. So that's the difference between a bolt thrower and a cheap spinnerbait. You get a handmade product. Each one of these is made by me or my son or my wife. We all kind of, it's a family run business, so props to them because they do a lot of the work too. That's the 1 ounce version, and this is the 1/2 ounce version. It's the one size smaller blade setup, but all the components are exactly the same as far as toughness. The 1/2 ounce is really deadly fishing over weed beds, 3 feet, 6 feet of water. If a swim bait's not working for you, they're not eating the swim bait, then they'll eat this reaction bait every single time. The head is designed so when it swims more chin up, so when you roll over rocks, it just kind of bounces over the rocks. It doesn't catch. It has no triangles on it to catch anything. That's why I really like the bolt thrower, not just because I make it, but because it is a very truly effective spinnerbait to fish. And then after we did that, I've been pouring plastics for years, so we came out with the Persuader. And the Persuader is a weedless swim bait. A lot of guys fish it with a lead head. It's very versatile. We designed this on a CAD program, and it is perfect in every way. There's no fat side or skinny side on anything, so it won't run sideways in any way. It'll always run true. We do 13 different patterns in the 6-inch. We also have the 8-inch, which is a monster calico bait. I fished this up in Cedros, or down in Cedros, I should say, on a 10-0 weedless owner beast hook. A lot of you guys are familiar with fishing the weedless who fish the kelp. It's so fun to fish. But we do a variety of different colors, schemes. This one's got it like a pearlescent green vein through it. You know, we do custom stuff like purple bait fish. And then some really crazy stuff for people like this, like margarita, whatever you call it. This thing actually really gets bit, this colorway. But unique thing about Reebs Lures is that you can order anything you want custom. There's usually a small minimum for plastics because I have to fill my pots, but it's not more than 12. So if you have something that you like to make, I take pride in being able to make custom stuff, unlike a lot of people out there who just have their own line and that's all you get. A lot of those guys process overseas, so they can't do custom stuff. This little hobby shop allows me to do that, so I always welcome custom orders. So if anybody wants to hit me up for that, I'd be happy to make them for you. You can just shoot me an email. I'll give you that at the end of the video. And these are the molds that I'm using for the Persuaders. These are high-end aluminum CNC machined molds. They're very high-end. They're ultra clear. They don't cloud up like silicone molds do, so I invested in making these CNC Persuader molds, and all my swim baits from here on out will always be out of this material. I prefer to use this. That's only the best, and that's what it is. So that's that, and this is the 8-inch Persuader, a little bit bigger. Not for the faint of heart. If you're a big bass guy, you're going to want to fish the larger Persuaders. The little ones get bit, and the big ones will bite that small bait, but the big ones will deter the smaller fish from biting. If you're looking for those pigs. When I fish tournaments, I'll fish the small one for a limit, or the kelp assassin for a limit, then I'll go to this big one and throw this all day for that one big kicker. That's those, and then this is my grub mold that I put on the end of my kelp assassins. Same thing, aluminum. It's a 5-inch grub. Falls through that column really well. I love the grub on the jig. It just is a perfect match. And so, you know, I'm kind of blasting through this pretty quick. What's next for Reebs Lures? Well, we got a lot of things coming. There's so much stuff that I want to do, but it just takes time, and trade shows are coming up, and the fishing's been really good, so I haven't exactly been spending a lot of time on R&D stuff, but I do have brand new line of surface irons coming out, and iron for yellowtail and calico. This is my rod bender. We're going to call it the rod bender series, and this is one size out of 4 that I have already made. They're in production right now, so we're going to be launching these real soon, all custom painted. This one's a little beat up. I caught a couple yellows on it a couple months ago, but it was the prototype that I'm very, very happy with the way it swims. I think you guys will be too. And an A-rig. We got an A-rig, an Alabama rig coming out. It's going to be the Kelp Assassin head on the end of it, so it'll have the same qualities and benefits of the Kelp Assassin, just in an A-rig, and the wires are going to be really cool, and the blade setups will be ultra custom, kind of stuff that nobody's ever seen before or doing in the industry, which is kind of what I strive to do. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I kind of like to follow my own lead on that. So yeah, that's Reebs Lures in a nutshell. Basically, I don't really think there's anything else I need to do. Need to say I really appreciate you guys tuning in and kind of seeing how it's done. We got to keep the videos short so I can download it, but you can always reach me at reebslures@gmail.com, or you hit my website, reebslures.com, and you can get anything you want off there. We're in stock of everything. We got shirts and apparel and jigs and spinnerbaits and all sorts of stuff, and I add stuff to it all the time. So that's that. And once again, I want to thank the Float Tube Fishing Forum for having me, and tight lines and good luck.